So let us look at what has happened in terms of so far what has happened. There are two very interesting sides to the whole story. Kaikeyi proposed and Dharma disposed. This is the moral of the story. If you ask me, it's a very Dharma Sukshma here. I think this is a very important thing that for us to really understand. Look at what are all the things Kaikeyi thought. Everything was nullified. Kaikeyi thought she will earn Bharata's respect by this act. These are all there. If you go and read in some sarga, it is there. Bharata, she thought Bharata will be so happy that she secured the kingdom for him. She thought she will earn Bharata's respect. She thought Bharata will rule the kingdom. That's the second thing. Third thing, Bharata will be happy and proud of her. He destroyed everything. He did not destroy. That is the path of Dharma. Whereas the reality that unfolded was absolutely different. In fact, what she did not think happened first, Dasharatha died immediately. That's the first thing that happened. I don't think Kaikeyi, with all fairness, we should give this fair thing to her. She did not want Dasharatha to die. But this is what happens, what the Dharma is and what you think you can do. Today, we have actually distanced ourselves from this whole Dharma argument. For us, this Dharma itself is a very vague idea. That is why we have done. Not that we want to go Dharmasya apamarge gantavyam iti asmakam uddeshaya nasti. We are not at all interested to go in another path. This aspashtata of Dharma. That is what has led us like that. So we do our own calculations with whatever thing without taking some larger understanding of Dharma. Whereas this story, this Ayodhya Kanda brings these Dharma discussions in a very big way. So look at what happened. First of all, Dasharatha died. Almost immediately, within a week or 15 days or something, he must have died. Although there is no indication, it looks like within a month. Timestamp is not there. It must be within a month he must have died. Dasharatha has died. It is not only that Bharata did not give him respect. Everybody disowned her. She was thinking Bharata will give him respect, but what was in stock for her was very different. What she did, everybody disowned and disrespected her for her act. Sumantra, the way he spoke to her at one stage, he breached his limit of Suta as a charioteer, and he tried that last thing he tried. So she lost respect from everyone, and my son disowned her. Right? Bharata, she thought, will rule the kingdom. Bharata flatly refused. He said, what you wanted, I will not do. He had the Paduka of Rama and he ruled the kingdom. That's a great act of a different kind. We are not going there yet. But I am saying what she thought did not happen. Bharata flatly refused to rule the kingdom. She thought Bharata will be happy and proud. Bharata was so unhappy, treated her with so much of contempt. I didn't read all those shlokas in that sargas. He spitted so much on her. So this is exactly what happens. In other words, first story, the first thing that we need to understand is Dharma has its own course. Dharma has its own course. Unless we are able to be aligned to that, all that we did and all that what unfold can be very different. Because what wins finally is Satyameva Jayate. It's like Dharmameva Jayate. Huh? Yes, it can happen in many ways, but the fact is, Dharma unfolds in its own way. In fact, the notion of immediate is not required. They are only saying Dharma is unfolding. Events happen immediately, but I am saying Dharma will always unfold. So the question is, what is Dharma? This is where we have a problem. So I wanted to bring a few things out of this story. We can understand some aspects of Dharma. See, these stories are extraordinarily meant only for that. The Dharma cannot be taught with the cookbook of step 1, step 2, rule 1, rule 2. That's not Dharma. Dharma is understood only from situations. From the situation, we should understand the sukshma of Dharma. That is why the Puranas are meant for. That's why the Itihasa is meant for. So in whatever we have seen now, there are some patterns emerging. I wanted to just bring those patterns and say these are some things which inform us of Dharma. So I will say what is not dharma. It's many times easy to say what is not dharma rather than saying what is dharma. Okay, because neti vada is very good. If you can at least say what is not, that much clarity is there. Very subtle and very deep things cannot be directly understood. They can be understood by only understanding what is not what is it. Our system dharma. What is not, if you know, that means you are more or less than dharma. So I found 4 important things in the story that we have done so far in Ayodhya Khandam. First thing is, all that which cannot sustain for too long cannot come under the premise of dharma. Actually, the very definition of dharma in Karna Parva is there in Mahabharata. Dharana dharma ityahu dharmo dharayate jagat. Yad dharana sanyuktam sad dharma miti nishchitam. It's a very beautiful definition there. The first cardinal principle of dharma is, by whatever combination of acts we do, it should ensure sustainability. If sustainability is violated, you can confidently say dharma is violated. That is the first meaning. Everything that Kaikeyi did not sustain at all. That means it doesn't fit into the yardstick of dharma. So why will it not sustain for too long? In this story, we find 2 things. First thing we find is internal conflicts and inconsistencies. The actions that you take have a lot of internal conflict and inconsistencies. Any act taken like that cannot be dharma because it will violate the principle of sustainability. Very soon it will collapse on the weights of its own conflict and its own inconsistency, and create a larger problem than what is being solved. Kaikeyi thought she is solving a problem. She brought a much bigger problem. Much bigger problem that the king is dead. Everything happened. It got too complicated and went out of hands. This is all acts of non-dharma. So we can look for, at least we can make sure such things don't happen in what we do. These are the principles of how do you align to dharma. By doing it, we are going away from dharma. So this is the first thing we find. Second most important thing, I think these are all very useful guidelines for us. Anything that goes against the grain of common understanding cannot be dharma. Simple. We don't have no dharma by very complicated rules and theories. If something does not go against the grain of common understanding, more often than not, it will be adharmic. There may be exceptions. But what I am saying is 90 out of 100, 95 out of 100, it will be adharmic. These are very useful. Because what she did would not fit into any grain of common understanding. People would have been baffled. If you had lived at that stage, you would have been baffled. I'm not talking about learned people. I'm talking about the person on the street side who would have been baffled. He said, no, this doesn't meet the sense of common sense. Dharma must align with common sense. Another principle. If things go out of common sense, rarely it is dharma. There may be other conditions which will make it dharma. Otherwise, more often than not, it is not dharma. That's what we find in this story also. Third, any benefit, because there are a lot of people who use the word dharma and do things which just benefit them. No, it is all dharma. It's not. Without loka sangraha, there is no dharma possible at all. Important yardstick of dharma is loka sangraha. It's not what is in it for me. If the more you step out of what is in it for me, the greater are the chances you are aligned to dharma. This is a very cardinal principle. So if benefits, what happened in this case, the benefit was only Kaikeyi's son, and maybe Kaikeyi's wife, Bharata's wife at most. Prime benefit is only, the whole argument is rotating around these people. It won't sustain. It will go, so each one of them will hit the other actually, if you see. If something is only selective only for selective, no focus on the larger good, it will not be sustainable. It will go and hit that rule of dharma now. First rule will get vitiated. If I benefit, I only benefit, but I pretend to say I am doing for a common good and all that, it will become inconsistent. All these rules are connected to one another, if you see. It will show up in another way. So anything that we do in our life, whether in office, whether in our personal life, whether we take decisions, if this yardstick is there, That means we are away from Dharma. That's why Astita Janaka Deha Loka Sangrahartam. That's what Krishna says in 19th sloka in chapter 3. He says, this is how people like Janaka were. They were doing work for what? Loka Sangraha. See, they are all people of great dharmic prowess and pedigree. Janaka is the most model king to actually emulate. Not Ashoka, it is actually Janaka. We are not able to go beyond 2000 years in this country and see anything. We have just forgotten the history. Great king was Janaka. Lokasangrahameva sampashyan kartumarhasi. Astitaha Janaka Deha, like that. There is a shloka in chapter 3 of Bhagavad Gita. So Lokasangraha is very important. The more we are away from Lokasangraha, the greater we are away from Dharma also. This is another story. Satisfying the ego of an individual more often than not can only be adharmic. It cannot be dharmic. Where ego plays a very important role, the chances are it is adharmic. The chances of it being dharmic are very, very low. If something out of this list becomes dharmic, there may be one strong reason, 1 in a million. Otherwise, the chances are that they are adharmic. People with worldly wisdom may not approve of it. This is another nice yardstick. If you say, I am going to do something like this, if people with worldly wisdom are not approving of it, more often than not, it is adharmic. That's why in Taittiriya Upanishad, in the 11th, Sikshavalli, he says, Aluksha dharma kama sihu yatate tatra varteran tata tatra varteta yukta ayukta aluksha dharma kama sihu. Look at what they are doing. If what you are doing is different from that, the chances are that's not dharmic. Again, Kaikeyi will fit into every one of these. What Kaikeyi did, what we have seen in the 76 sargas so far, will fit neatly into this episode. That episode will fit into it. That is why it is adharmic. In other words, a simple acid test for Dharma is in the long run, not in the short run. And things that happen in the short run can boomerang. This is exactly what happened to Kaikeyi. She fixed something, thinking life is going to be okay tomorrow morning. Life became miserable for her. It went exactly 180 degrees. She thought she is going to be the happiest person. She became the person who was doomed, who was discarded, who was disrespected, who was disowned. So short run cannot give solutions for Dharma. They say dharana dharma ityahu dharmo dharayate jagate yad dharana sanyuktam syat saha dharma iti nischita. That is the yardstick of Dharma. I think all these are coming very, very strongly. From some Subhashitas and from some of the Puranas, I could get some shlokas to connect to all that we have seen so far. I will bring a few shlokas. So in Manusmriti, look at this shloka. Na dharmascharito loke sadhya palati gauriva Shaneravartamanastu karturmulani krintati. He says, these effects of Dharma is not like milking a cow. It's not like milking a cow. You milk the cow, you immediately, boil it, drink, maybe you set curd, make it ghee. Prayojana vidamidani meva. He says, na gauhiva. Na gauriva. First it goes there. The Dharma's effect is not so. You don't do something. In business parlance, we do something today evening. You want something. There may be a vyavahara compulsion to do it, but that's not how Dharma unfolds. Manusmriti is saying. He says, "Adharma charitaha loke sadhyaha na palati gauhiriva." So this adharma also is exactly like that. It doesn't need not unfold immediately. That is this karma. That is the whole idea of karma. You accumulate, and it's a very complex, self-balanced framework which knows when to pop up what. So he says, "Na adharmascharitaha loke sadhyaha palati gauhiva." Like you get milk out of it is not like that. If you do adharma, it will come back. He says, "Shanaihi avartamanaha tu kartuhu mulani krintati. This act of adharma that you do slowly will eat your root. It will take some time. Mulani krintati. It eats away your root over a period of time. It need not necessarily happen immediately. Manusmriti is saying, don't take dharma very casually. Don't take dharma very casually, because when you do adharma, you don't even know what you have already accumulated for it. But we all spend life like that. We don't know what we have accumulated in a bag of karmas. We have no idea. The day we become aware of it, the chances are that that bag, the rate at which two things will happen. The rate at which we are filling bad karma will slowly come down. That is stage one. Stage two, we will stop that and start eating away. So you need Shatakoti Janmaha for that. But the awareness is the starting point for all that. Karma is a very complex and a very, self-regulating principle. It doesn't need any helping hand from anybody for anything. It's all interrelated and self-regulating. That's what Manusmriti says. And that is the reason he says, Dharma eva hato hanti, dharmo rakshati rakshitaha, tasmat adharmo na hantavyaha, mano dharmo hato avadhit. That's why he says, Dharma eva hato hanti. If you destroy Dharma, Dharma will destroy you with twice the vigor. The previous shloka is that it will take some time. Here he says, that is for sure. Dharma eva hato hanti, dharmo rakshati rakshitaha. You are willing to protect Dharma, Dharma will protect you. If you are destroying Dharma, Dharma will destroy you. It's all a self-balancing, self-regulated system, closed loop system. No help is required from anybody. We think we are now sorting out here and there. Nothing. It's a very complex web of cause and effect which is running. He says, Tasmat adharmaha nahantavyaha mano dharmo hato avadit. So he says, that's why you don't do adharma. Right? Because it will not leave you. It's not going to leave you that easily. Therefore, you don't do it. It's not going to leave you. In the previous sloka, I said it will come in its own way and eat at the root level. That is what will happen. He says, Adharmaha nahantavyaha mano na dharmaha hato avadhit. Because it will not leave you. It will come. Be aware of that avadhit. You be aware of it, that it will come back to you. Don't do that. Is what Manusmriti has to say about dharma. I took a couple of shlokas from Shishupala Vada because there is this great conversation before he was killed. Shishupala Vada, Maga's Shishupala Vada is that when Krishna was made the Mukhya Atiti, he objected to it. So there is a big conversation before Shishupala Vada. So Maga took that and wrote a beautiful, yes, I have taken one or two shlokas which I could lay my hands to some search. Mahatas tarasa vilangayan nijadoshe kudir vinashyati kurutena kalu swayechaya shalabin nindana middadiditihi. He says, Mahataha tarasa vilangayan nijadoshena kudihi vinashyati. Kudihi. One who has kudi, subuddhi, kubuddhi. Right? One who has kubuddhi, right? Mahata tarasya vilangayan, he gets engulfed in his own dosha and then he will destroy himself. That's the first line. It says, by your own act of increasing foolishness, kubuddhi, the foolish people will destroy themselves. They don't need. In fact, that I have seen all the time in my life also I have seen. Everybody are only Bhasmasura. They only put their hand on their head. Nobody need to destroy anybody. Vinashakale, they orchestrate their own destruction. I have seen it actually. We don't have to do anything. All these, Asuri Sampath are all Bhasmasura variety. They create problem after problem after problem and then they get into it. That's what this is saying. This is always what happens, my understanding. Is what it is. Kurutena kulu swaichaya. Don't you see this happening? How? Shalaban. These bees, anindinam idadaditihi. That they get into the fire and they get burnt by that indanam, no? Right? Diditihi is, that shine of that, it gets attracted into it. Swaichaya Shalaban Kurute Nakalu. Don't you see this happening? That when there is the moth, it destroys. You just put a lamp, that's the end of the story. It will go and fall there, and then that's it. It will get burnt. It is attracted by that light and the fire. It is like that. So all bad, what Kaikeyi did is she did to herself. She inflicted everything on herself. And her kubuddhi vinashyati, that is what finally happened to her actually. Another shloka, which is again Shishupala Vadam. Vidurashyedayapayamaatmana parataha shraddate tava buddhaha na paropahitam na chasvataha pramimite nubhava dhrutelpadihi. Alpadihi, those who are small-minded, those who don't have power of good thinking, alpadihi. Alpadihi, that is, or it is, let's see the first line, then come to the second line. Viduhu eshyat, vidureshyat, apayam atmana. Some people who have a little sense of ability to think, or a little wise people, what happens? Atmana viduhu eshyat. Either they know by themselves, apayam, some danger that is coming, they will get to know. If they are not able to, parataha shaddadate atava buddhaha. So people buddhaha, what they will do, either they will be able to find that things are not going all right, at least they will listen to someone. Parataha shaddadate atava buddhaha. At least they will listen to somebody's counsel. Whereas he says, na paropahitam na chasvataha. Whereas these alpadihi, what they do, they don't know by themselves. They don't listen to others also. Na paropahitam na chasvataha pramamite anubhavatrute. They will know only by experience. Kaikeyi has to walk through this nonsense, know what are all the wrong things I have done. That's all. So many people told, Dasharatha himself told, everybody, Sumantra at the end told, don't do this. This is not going to take you anywhere. So when she listened to no one, only by hard experience you have to learn. That's the hardest way to learn. But I am sure after all these, even whereas that part has not been discussed in Ramayana, I am sure she would have had a hell of her life. It's not that she would have lived peacefully. That story is not the main story. It has become a side story. But I am sure that is what it is. So, alpadihi na paropahitam na chasvataha pramamite. Anubhavatrite alpadihi. Only by experience, the hardest way, that's a very inefficient way of progressing in life. You need a little combination of all these. Otherwise, it's not going to go. These are all Krishna, I think, telling to Shishupala in this. This is from Hitopadesha. Lobena buddhischalati, lobo janayati trisham, trisharto dukkhamapnoti, paratreha cha manavaha. The key word here is paratrecha manava. Para atracha. This lobha, this greed, he says lobena buddhihi chalati. First your mind becomes wavering. Kaikeyi's problem was lobha, greed. She thought we have to enjoy this kingdom. Such a short-sighted, simple idea which is completely foolish, which is nonsensical, but the greed overpowered her. He says, Lobena buddhihi chalati, lobo janayati trisham. The trishna will come. Trishna is an unquenchable desire. A desire which cannot be quenched by any amount of feeding to it is called trishna. So the trishna is a very dangerous thing. See, pipasa, bubuksha and all, you drink 1 tumbler of water, 2 tumbler of water, over. Bubuksha, you can eat. After some time, you will stop. Trishna, you don't. Trishna is forever. Bottomless pit. It is called thermodynamical sink. If I have to use my mechanical engineering idea, you can reject any amount of heat into it, nothing will happen. That's what they say in thermodynamics anyway. So, Lobo janayati trisham. Trishartho dukkam apnoti. That trisha is the dukkha janaka for the lobi. Yeah. So finally it is all, dukkha. The desires lead to sorrow. And he says it is not only here, in the other world also. That's why the karma is accumulating. That is the idea, meaning of this. You would have done all kinds of things. Only you have little time to get back, but you already sowed the seed. It will have to come back to you. It cannot go anywhere. No suspense account, no bad debts written off, nothing. This is a very robust accounting system. No bad debts written off, no suspense account, no nothing, no discounts, nothing. Because there is popular misconception people have. And what they say is you can do a lot of mischief, you can do a lot of good things, so it will be net of plus or minus. No, these accounts are two separate accounts. For the plus, you will get holiday share, time sharing holiday in your heaven. But come back, your negative balances are lying here. So there is no setting off, there is no writing off, there is no suspense account, nothing. That's why, as well as the other life. Paratra ihacha. Manavaha. That's what, Hitopadesha says. This will apply to this lady. She will suffer it for time to come. That I think we will close. I thought I will give a little, now that we have reached a stage where Dasratha is off the scene, it's time to reflect a little bit.